Testing 1 2.
We give all honors and praise to the Most High. We give all honor and praises for those who have liberated Africa and have shed their blood for us so that we can sit here comfortable to think about the deeds of those who have passed. Old pirates, yes, they robbed I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless ship. But my head was made strong by the hands of the Almighty, and we forward in this generation confidently. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? That's all I'll ever have. Redemption songs, sing with me. That's all I'll ever have. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves will free our minds. Have no fear for colonial energy, cause none of them can stop this time. How long shall we till they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? It's not okay. Some say it's just a part of it, and we've got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing, Azania, these songs of freedom? That's all we'll ever have. Redemption song. Sing it with me. Redemption song. We give thanks. We give thanks. First of all, let me acknowledge our great father in the house. Last night I was thinking about you, Baba Sitole, and just thinking, how does a bishop allow Umar Johnson in his church space? I couldn't reconcile it for a very while, and I said, there is a Pan-Africanist in the closet. So let's hear it for our father. The beauty about this, my dear brother, Ifatunde, you know, people don't know how long you have been on this track. The dilemma is that Pan-African women don't get this kind of, so I have to give it to Queen Ntuli, because I know she's the one who put me on this program. Stand up, my queen, I need to acknowledge you. Because as much as they fear the black man, they fear the Pan-African woman. And I've been here long enough. It's good to see one of my elders who will tell you the beginning of this journey. But Matole knew when we started this journey here in South Africa, and we never stopped. In the great words of the great Marcus Garvey, because I have to invoke him, South Africa don't like to speak about him. The Negroes had enough of the vaunted practice of race superiority as inflicted upon him by others. Therefore, he is not prepared to tolerate a similar assumption on the part of his own people. In America and the West Indies, we have Negroes who believe themselves so much above their fellows as to cause them to think that any readjustment is in the affairs of the race should be placed in their hands for them to exercise a kind of autocratic and despotic control as others have done to us for centuries. Again, the great Marcus Garvey says, I say it would be advisable for such Negroes to take their hands and minds off the now popular idea of colonizing Africa in the interest of the Negro race, because their being identified with their new program will not in any way help us because of the existing feeling among Negroes everywhere not to tolerate the infliction of race or class superiority amongst them, as is the desire of the self-appointed and self-created black leadership that we have been having for the last 50 years. the Honorable Garvey, when he spoke about the bourgeoisie and the so-called Africans who believe they must lead us. We have 60 years, on the 25th of May, we would have 60 years of African men taking leadership of the African Union. And we have not solved the problem of unity. So give the woman a chance. We're ready to take this over. And we are unapologetic. We have given you 60 years. It's really enough. Implementation, implementation, implementation. The first implementation is to reassess the situation and the psychological patriarchate disease of Africa. When we can dispel of the religious patriarchate behavior and understand that Africa was always a duality, that there was no king that can lead or live without a queen, and there is no queen who could sit on a throne without her king. That duality has to come back. We need that back. We have to reaffirm, when we stand in the struggle, we need to reaffirm that we are not doing something new, that our resistance comes from 500 years of resistance and strategy. Why are we behaving like we're doing something new? Our elders did some serious work to bring us here without cell phone, without cars, without anything, and they did it so that we could be here today. What is this laziness about? What is this fear about? What is this lack of courage about? This morning a child came to me at the New Nation School and he said to me, you know, I wish that they could just give us the curriculum that you have, because we're wasting our time. And Africologist speaks to the logical study of Africa, for Africa, by Africans, because for 1,000 years, Baba Sitole, 1,000 years, we have been the most illogical people. We have been invaded. We have been invaded by religion, by culture. We don't even recognize who we are because we have lost logic. Our children in the private schools are taught logic and curiosity. I wonder why. So the Modesty children are curious and logical. What about the masses? Reaffirm that where you are in the struggle comes from a longer struggle. But reaffirm that we have resisted. I am named after the spirit of the great conqueror, Ya Asantewa of the Ashanti Nation. And she reminded, when the British came for the Golden School, she reminded the men, if you are tired, we will never be tired. And you know what they did to her, right? They exiled her to Seychelles, and one by one her army came and slit the throat of her guards, brought her back. So we are aware that this work that is being done by this organization, if you're not ready to put up your sword, then it's an ego trip. To be able to liberate Africans without the jargons of politics and academia, it means that you have to go to the cold front. And our masses don't want to hear jargons. Our people don't want to hear regurgitation of political aspirations. Our people want to hear, when are we going to get back the land? Our people want to hear, when are you going to just burn some of those books? Because there's nothing in it for us. Those are the things that the people of Azania, this country that is so-called South Africa, are now questioning. And I get that. I have done, since the first Friday of May, this is today, I have met 1,300 primary school children. And all of them, they don't know where South Africa lies. I give them the map and I close their eyes and I said, go and touch the place called South Africa. They do not know the extent of the land that they are claiming Israel to. So let's start there. Let's get the African child to wake up in the morning. When she wakes up, he sees that map, and he gets in his head, why are we fighting for this land? We don't want to talk about paper land. We want to talk about the real land. The Africologist in me says we have to re-engage with institutions. This isolation work of Pan-African work. We need the Pan-African business people. We need the Pan-African educators. We need the Pan-African spiritualists. We need the Pan-African traditional healers. We need them. Baba Credo, may his soul rest in power, reminded us. Yes, make a noise for Credo Mutwa. The great Sanusi reminded us that we are yet to see the storm of storms. So don't be surprised when we begin to see and witness that storm. We were told by the great Sanusi. And what is that storm? Ifatunde will talk about the psychological storm. Me, I'm talking about a storm where women have lost their custodial rights to spirituality. I hope my mother Situla is in the house, because that woman taught me how to... Oh, Ma, please stand up, because I learned that women are prophetic people. And that woman 10 years ago spoke prophecy over my life. And I'm standing here today. Women, you're gonna have to understand that you are the spiritual custodians. And I'm not talking about the next story. I'm talking about the right to be spiritually aware, to be spiritually present. And I always say, no nation can rise higher than its women. No nation can rise higher than its women. So when you talk about Pan-Africanism, people say to me, so what is black consciousness? I was saying to my brother Pernell, we don't have time for those things. Who is black? Who is not? I ask the children today, if you stand on the shore in Durban and the whale gets up from the sea and greets you, and the octopus gets up from the sea and greets you, and the sardine gets up from the grave, from the sea, and are they not in the sea? Can you ask them where they are from? So South Africa keeps irritating me, and Bishop, African. Nature has taught us that those questions are just irrelevant at this point. What is relevant is about us solving 1,000 years crisis of one group of people being oppressed by a very evil people. And we have the scars to prove, because we know that evil. So we can't pretend. So let's not get into this thing of who is into black and who is into Pan-Africanism. Choose your agency. Get back to black excellency. Do your agency and do it well. If you are a painter, paint so that we can be inspired. If you are a singer, sing songs so that we can go to the battle. Choose your agency. Choose your agency. Because if you don't choose your agency, matasa tasa, spitty spitty. Everybody wants to do everything. You know, I remember the first time I saw something called a general worker, Bishop. General worker. That's what we become. Because when you are generalizing, you can't master one thing. Are you hearing me? I'm not a dancer. I love to dance, but that's not what I'm mastering. I'm not a singer, as you could hear, but I love to sing, but that's not what I'm mastering. I'm an educator. I'm a Pan-African educator. And so in March 18, 2020, when I went to Nkosi Tlengwa, and for a couple of months I've been eyeing a school there, an empty school, Bishop. 9 years it's been sitting empty. Right there in KZN, in the middle of COVID, I drove to the Nduna. Nagumede, I'm ready for this school. Because I know what's going to happen. A lot of our children are not going to be supported in rural area. 20 days after that meeting, in Nduna, all 11 of them met me in the middle of COVID. Because I insisted that I will not allow COVID to play with the minds of rural children. Because we know there is a biological warfare, which we're not going to get in today. I'm not a medical practitioner. On the 11th of July, I opened the first Pan-African Center. And I know people have opened many things, but I can tell you without any apology, I opened the first Pan-African Center based on the teachings of Professor Nabuderi, the Africology teachings in South Africa. Never wrote a proposal to ask government to fund me, because I believe there's enough black people in this world who can take out 100 rand every month like you do for tithing. Very important, our tithes. Why are our institutions not seen in that same regard? Why should I be knocking on government door to say, can you please help me to feed African children knowledge? It's not going to happen. Because my vision will not be thwarted. Because my goal of liberating the African child and affirming Africa's greatness cannot be bought. It is not up for tender. And so Dr. Omar, a couple of years ago, set up a PayPal. I'm going to tell you business now. He set up a PayPal and he said, Queen Mother, I don't want you to go around with any pan begging people for things. They must come to you. I'm setting up a PayPal and we're going to try and get people to pay you to be able to do what exactly you need to do without going all over the place. And this brother that is going to speak to you today made sure that I never have to beg and walk into places and say, why are you not funding me? That's Ifatunde. In closing, I am asking you people, my brothers, my sisters, my mothers, choose your agency. Choose your agency, be consistent, be committed, be focused. When I told my Empress friend in New York that I'd built the Pan-African Center, she says, in South Africa? You think they're going to allow you to stay there? I said, well, if you're going to do this work, you can't do this with fear. Because fear is false evidence appearing real. And if you're going to do things in fear, you're already defeated. What did Dr. Omar say yesterday? If you are not confident in the work that you are doing, before you even put out your foot, you already lost the battle. So stop complaining. Stop complaining. Focus. Focus. The Institute of Africology has a principle, and the principle is based on the inclusive understanding of the past, present, future paradigm, which is also called the Sankofa. The principle says, in order to go forward, we must know where we have been. Siabong.